in terms of the religious community, I think that one of the biggest problems that face equal marriage advocates is the fact that marriage for so long in our own culture, in our own country's culture, has been associated with a religious act. If you study the law in Europe, and even the church's law, the Catholic Church's law in Europe, they're two different things. Because in most churches, marriage is considered a sacrament, or at least some form of a sacrament. It's a religious act, a religious symbol, changes your status in the church, and so on. But it is also a civil act. And what's happened is, in the United States and most of North America, most religious ministers have been given the permission by the state to act as agents of the state in creating the marriage. That's really what's happening. It's really not a religious act that they're doing from that perspective. And all you need to do is to look at the other end of it. If somebody wants to get divorced, they can go to the church and ask for a divorce or ask for an annulment, and even if the church grants that, it has absolutely no status in civil law. You have to go and get a divorce anyway. So, and already you begin to see that marriage, as we understand it in our country, is a legal status that is created by the civil state. We have added onto it culturally the religious adaptation. Most people think of marriage, they think of going to a church or a synagogue and all of the religious surroundings there, and that's perfectly fine. I have absolutely no problem with that, obviously. I'm a religious minister. But I also am very keenly aware that I'm being an agent of the state. Because if you ever look at your marriage license, a marriage license that is issued in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there are penalties if I don't get it back on time. So, you know, again, I am being an agent of the state in doing that. So when we start talking about marriage equality, religion really has no place in it. And as a religious minister, I have to say that very honestly. Do I want people to have a religious understanding of marriage? If they're people of faith, of course. But to deny people rights, equal rights under the law, because they are religious people or other religious people say that's not the way I think of it, then we have a problem. The chaplain for Harvard University, Peter Gomes, many years ago, said something in a very pithy way that I think it really summarizes the viewpoint that I have. As religious views in these constitutional matters is irrelevant, period. And I think that's exactly what we need to see in order to make this debate honest in terms of what we're really talking about.
I get a lot of people when I debate these issues, discuss them in public, who talk about Leviticus and its condemnation of homosexuality. But when you also read Leviticus or other parts of the Bible, you realize that, you know, it says things like if you wear cloth made of more than one fabric, you should be put to death. If you work on the Sabbath, you should be put to death. If a man rapes a woman, he must marry her. And it's okay to own and beat a slave so long as the slave doesn't die within 2 days of the beating. And a whole bunch of other stuff that no one in their right mind thinks should be the law of the state of Pennsylvania.
What you have is people being motivated to take Leviticus to turn it into clubs to beat other people, rather than to use Leviticus to build lives of holiness for themselves.
Why is it only gay people who have to live in the first century, according to these religious people? What is it unique about that admonition among so many other clearly anachronistic and dated admonitions that continues to have such a hold on people, whereas, you know, if you sleep with a cow, you and the cow have to be put to death, no longer seems to be a big issue for people.